The dear friend. That's how Jane referred to him in our letters. The dear friend this and the dear friend that. I shall meet you in Newport with the dear friend in tow. We always went to Newport in the summers. Mercy had her own personal palace there overlooking the cliffs. I waited all day for Jane and the dear friend, conveniently avoiding my family. Justine's husband Bradford had brought his brothers from Kansas that summer. Spencer and Malcolm were entertaining Everett with tales of their African safari, mowing down every poor beast they saw. I detest the sport, as well as the Bryan brothers, and they were naturals at it. I was the first to see them from the balcony. I saw him first. Jane wrote that the dear friend was handsome and witty. He spoke impeccable French and near perfect English, and they'd met at auction, him being a purveyor of fine art for private purchase. But Jane had excluded one thing from her letters. The dear friend was a son of the Pacific, Eastern-born. With a face like that, you'd think he'd been born to an emperor. Jane had done very well, I thought, and the other Deviers thought not. Jane was whisked away, and they locked themselves in the library having a terrible row. You'd think that she would have brought a tiger in the house, but he stood politely by himself, surrounded by all the art Jane had purchased in Europe. I saw he was a fellow observer, quietly taking everything in. Too docile, almost. And the children and I took to eavesdropping at the library door, and Justine was afraid the dear friend had brought foreign diseases, and Mercy was horrified that someone had seen them arrive in Newport and there would be gossip. And then Everett, my Everett, delivered slurs that to this day still disturb me. Had Jane been seduced? Had she been shown filthy paintings or read awful ancient poetry about limbs intertwined? And then when we discovered that the dear friend was listening at the door behind us, he assured me that he had been nothing but a gentleman their entire journey. I had the children exchange how-do-you-dos, and I was very proud of their manners. My 3 little diplomats, the only Deviers that showed this man any genuine interest. Well, between Jane having a tantrum and the art in the hall not being paid for, we would be hosting the dear friend for a while. I remember the writing on his luggage, old letters on even older leather. And Jane said he was Japanese, but that didn't make sense. It was all different shapes, different alphabet. Different. Imposters should stick together, so this dear friend became my friend as well.